How do you do, G-Pop crew? It's your nutty buddy Putty here, and I just decided just to start things off a little bit crazy here. We are talking about a certain series called X-Men. Could you be talking about X-Men, the original anime series? Yes. Are we talking about X-Men 97? Pretty much. We're talking about the whole thing as a world of animation. I am here with people by the name of, over here, always messing it up, is JD, 777 donuts. Wait,
Io
whoa.
stasera faccerò la tradizione in italiano. Quello che dice Patti in inglese lo dico in italiano.
You guys still
Uh,
have captions on because I'm seeing them.
I hope that mine just popped up. We are learning new
I
stuff
turned
with
mine
this,
off.
guys.
We're learning new
I did
things.
too, but it popped up as saying something else. Anyway, but anyway, yes, Johnny knows 777 that just kind of spoken the language. And then below me over here is Campo from Campo Reviews. Actually, I don't know why, but they got me off center on my own screen, and I don't know why, but that's okay, guys. It doesn't
Patti ha
matter.
detto
They're
che è un
here.
po' storto, alla 45.
I hope we're not showing captions because I'm
He
not showing
speaks
them with
good
my eyes.
German.
Bratwurst, eines.
But before we get started,
Scheiße.
this guys, if you came here wondering what my review and my thoughts of the show are, like actually if I liked it or loved it, I didn't
Nine.
understand what they're saying. No, I do not know. Okay. Anyway, yeah, this is already off the rails. We haven't gotten started yet, guys.
Confirm your
Anyway,
speaking language. I don't know
why
what
is it
language.
still doing it? Why is it still doing this? This is
Because
becoming-
you gotta
Whatever
go
language you were speaking there for a bit, Putty was just one slow picture over and 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 over. And I was not like an Asian language. It was like some
Okay,
weird kind of writing.
okay. I think this is it right here. Do I have it now?
You have to turn translation off.
I got it off now. It was a switch.
Okay.
It said free trial translation. Good Lord. This is a great way to start this video, guys.
No, this is
Anyway.
actually super entertaining. I'm learning a new language as we're talking.
So, guys, we were talking about X-Men 97. The major thing on this video is over on Campo's video over on RLG Cast, we do the review. We talk about how much we love it. This is different, guys. If you haven't seen X-Men 97 or even the original X-Men series and you don't want to be spoiled, stop right now. Go watch the review with us and everything. There's a non-spoiler section.
Stop what you're doing, because I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you're used to.
We're never going to do that again. Continue, Putty.
So with that being said, the one thing we talk about, and we're just kind of offshooting and making this a part 2 of the last video, so make sure you guys go watch that if you want to kind of see how we're just jumping into this. And the whole thing I was saying back in your video was that there's a lot of small key moments in this season that make me think, just like the first series, you know how you might also add that, you know what I mean? Like with the what's the name? What was the name of those creatures that, well, one of them died in 97 and
The Morlocks.
The Morlocks. You know, we also got a little more of a continuation on that, and I feel like that's what's happening. Is that we're focusing on the original anime series, on the older stuff of when it came to X-Men series. That I feel like they're going to push more of the newer stuff as well too. And I feel like we are going to go into something bigger that's going to say this is the big climax. This ends it right here. And everything. Of course, for me, I would think and hope that's Age of Apocalypse because that series has such a big change in it when it comes to good to bad guy ratio that I feel like it's a good story. Going back to what we talked about with Gambit, Gambit dies. Of course, again, spoilers, guys. You know, if I haven't said already, but this is continued from last video. We get Gambit back based on the card at the end with of the series. So you're thinking he becomes one of the Horsemen. This also could still lead into Age of Apocalypse because Age of Apocalypse does rewrite things to a whole different story to where Gambit could also go back to being good with the Externals. So we could actually get even that core story back in that situation. The reason I say that is because I feel like what they're going to do is they're going to basically say, we're going to take the biggest stories of the comic books and we're going to make sure that you guys get this in this X-Men series, whether it be later or at least now. And we're getting that with Onslaught as a setup, being set up and everything. I even could see them saying if they start, if this is popular enough and people like this is more personal for me. But like if they were to be like, okay, Jubilee becomes a fan favorite, we can now push it into Generation X. Not saying that's going to happen. That's more of a dream cycle for me, of course. I'm not saying that's real. I'm just trying to say this also could be an offshoot for X-Force because of Cable. You know what I mean? There's could be opportunities to spread out and do the X-Men universe. And then we're already getting hints of the other series. Like we saw this Peter Parker Spider-Man from the animated series from the 90s Spider-Man in there. You know what I mean? So what if they decide they want to continue those stories as well? There's plenty of still great stories they can pull off in there. So that's the reason why I feel like these little shots are basically setting up a more webbing of things that we're going to get that are going to be exciting that could lead into other stories. But
Pun
that's how I
intended.
feel. Yeah. So, I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, branching off of that, so to speak.
I think the opposite. I think it's X-Men. I think it's Spider-Man. You're kind of like sowing the seeds for Spider-Man. What's the one called? Freshman year? Because you got the street level, you got Cloak and Dagger, you got Daredevil in it. So I think that's going to lead more. And maybe freshman year is going to lead to the aftermath of what happened on Earth.
Okay.
But does freshman year even part of this?
It's the same universe, apparently.
Because like I've heard rumors that they're bringing back Spider-Man the animated series.
Well, see, that's confusing to me because in this part of it, we literally saw Spider-Man animated series in X-Men '97. He's in the window when he's watching the whole thing.
Yeah,
But is
with
it
Mary
freshman
Jane.
year or in the continuation of the Fox series?
No, I think freshman year is just a new Spider-Man series.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Okay.
And it takes
Yeah.
place in the Spider-Man universe between like No Way Home and Far From Home or something like that.
Oh, it's gonna be canon to that.
Apparently, that's what I heard. I don't know if that's 100% true, but I do know that there's a lot of things on the internet saying that they're going to bring back Spider-Man, which I believe would be Spider-Man 98 or 90. Yeah.
6.
8.
And see, that's what
I
I'm
got
94,
Timmy.
and it went for 4 seasons.
I got Timmy on it.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I feel like they're doing is they're trying to push off the anime series and blossom the old ones using nostalgia.
You
to
were right.
hopefully-
98. Timmy can confirm that.
But yeah, I feel like that they're branching off that situation to make these other animated series. But then at the same time, I feel like X-Men is about to get a very, very big chunk of a big storyline. Now, I agree because of that, we are getting so many unanswered questions in this series that makes it up too many plot holes. And I feel like there's gonna be a payoff. Like Campbell, you were talking about that earlier, making it bad. I feel like that's gonna be the thing is we're gonna get payoffs to those later on. A lot of those.
Yeah, but
storylines.
this is two things, okay? So if we're here and we're talking about this now,
Yeah.
for just like to get this out of the way, two things. You don't even know what I was talking about specifically to know that there's going to be payoff for those things.
Good
Number
point. I get
two,
you.
it's the payoffs for those things aren't things that necessarily need to be paid off. It's just things that you showed us and then didn't pay them off. Right? It's not like important things, but it's just you there's clearly spaces in the writing where they're like, well, we're just not going to talk about this anymore. And I do, even if they do pay it off, that's good. I'll take it, right? Like we're not going to complain about it. But I just think that you believing that they're going to pay it off doesn't mean that they will. Do you know what I mean? Like,
True.
I'm not even knocking you at all saying that. I'm just trying to. I'm giving you 3 reasons why there's more than we can't just expect it. We have to just, it is what it is. And if they do it, sure, great. But if they don't, it also doesn't really matter because they weren't important things. It's just, what was the point of telling us this stuff if you didn't pay it off, even though I don't need it paid off?
Well, see, like I said, prime example, and this again, this one is going back, and whenever I say I'm doing a personal one, it's because I'm hoping that other ones pay off in the way I want to. Because the thing is, the more bigger characters, the more main characters get more of their payoffs in a later series. Also means that the characters that I like also get that thing. I realize where my character is in the plethora of characters. But for example, when we talked about the Mojo episode and everything, I liked that she saw what she can become when it becomes potential of a hero, as far as like using her powers. That we kind of got a little bit of that payoff at the end episode, which is the one we never got to talk about on your end. Was what part I liked about the Jubilee thing.
Go tell us.
That was the part where they're fighting in combination together. At the end, when Magneto and everything with that situation, you see that they're really working together when they're doing that whole battle. And I like the way they utilized her powers. But it's like she's learning, she's getting better. And I'm hoping the progress from that the payoff is what she saw herself and that young thing, where she does turn the whole rollerblading thing with her sparks and learns how to do stuff like that. That could be just really cool as her character. You know what I mean? Now, is it going to happen? Probably not. That's what I
I
hope.
mean,
But I'm hoping. You get what I'm saying?
if it does, there is growth of a character, but this is the thing you have to remember. You're at this point, she's been in X-Men for 6 years, where we
Yeah,
are in the storyline.
Yeah,
So,
she's
and they train. They're not like any other team. They're not like Avengers or the Justice League. They train daily to work as a team. And I'm glad to see the growth. I agree with you. And Jubilee's a character I like, and I like that she's not as a dumb child anymore. She's like
yeah,
an adult, and she sees the dumb childness that she used to be in Sunspot. You can notice it in her, like
yeah.
this like I don't want to be a mutant thing, where she's like she learned that it's like you should want to do it.
yeah,
Stuff
it's
like seeing her use her powers like raw roller skates is stuff that like I don't know why you want those things.
Well, no, I just want her to, but I'm not her growth as a character. I already loved as a general. I just want to see her growth and powers because everyone gives her a bad rap. Like, ooh, she shoots fireworks. So I want her to take that potential and say, no, this could be even bigger than you realize. As if I long as I know how to use these. So I use the rollerblades as an example because the way they did the older version of Jubilee, where she was skating around and fighting, I'm like, that's a cool thing to really impact the character, especially since she's based in the '90s. So the whole rollerblading thing really works with her. It's the growth I like seeing her because it is my childhood that I see that. So it's nice that they're using elements of stuff that I was used to around that generation. You know what I mean? And that could appeal to things. But that's the same thing. That's the reason I say that is because that's what I want. Now, let's look at the other characters like Wolverine. We're definitely going to get a Pwn Claws payoff. You know what I mean? We're definitely going to have that situation. But there's other little storylines like let's go back to the idea of what's Morph going to do now that his story's done when it comes to Mr. Sinister. That was a major part of Morph's story too. Are we going to see any more growth, or is just Morph's in the background now?
I don't think Morph is one of the few characters that didn't have any growth.
Well, that's
It's
what I'm saying. But see, the
it's
Sinister thing was a good thing that they used because he was, if you remember, he was held by Sinister, which also opened up the story when he come back
Well, he
to that.
technically died, and then Sinister brought him back, which is what
yeah.
people are saying that he's going to do that with Gambit.
Well, I mean, but again, I think the Horseman thing is what's going to bring that back. I feel
But
like,
then what happened? Okay, what happened to Madeline Pryor then? They made this whole thing with Madeline Pryor and the
oh, the
Goblin
Goblin,
Queen,
yeah.
and they never paid that off either.
Yeah, but see, that's a thing, a storyline where I think we will get a payoff for that because at some point there's going to be like a 3 episode arc where they need a villain and she's going to be the bad guy or something
And that
like
brings
that.
in back Cable too, that which
Yeah,
really
that will happen. And if you've ever watched the original series, people will know like there is an overarching story, but for the majority, every episode is just random things. It's a random
Yeah.
boss of the week, and then they move on. Which this one is not like that. So that's why it feels the Jubilee episode specifically, like I'll go back to it, feels out of place because
I mean, I get it.
it doesn't offer us anything when you're trying to tell us a story. You've specifically gone so deep into the fact of telling the story, even the Storm thing, which gets paid off
Right.
and makes sense. But at the end of the day, you wasted so much of my time telling me the Storm story that I didn't need. I didn't need to know how she got her powers back. That didn't
Well,
matter at all to me.
there was also one other thing that I want to bring up too that I didn't get in the other video is also kind of having to recap because I've noticed one thing they did is I feel like they wanted to make sure that people that watch X-Men 97 don't have to watch the original animated series. So what they did was they recapped a lot of stuff. Think about it. We never got the real Magneto story in the old thing because they were so worried about the, the Russian that the or the the German, sorry, the German situation. And so we didn't get that, but we finally got that with this. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like we're getting a lot of stories that they felt were too a little edgy, I guess you could say, or storylines that they need to remind us of, like
Well,
the
this is
Phoenix.
not a kids show.
Well,
No.
no, that's the thing. People that are going to watch this may not have watched the original series, so there's a lot of what feels like recaps, is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean?
And I
To kind of
understand what you're saying. But I think in the original show, outside of the fact that they were trying to give it to sell products to kids, and it's can't really tell those stories, but they also told the way that they told everything is there wasn't really backstories. Like you don't even get the Wolverine like being part of X Force or whatever it was. Sorry,
yeah,
X Weapon X
Weapon X, yeah.
Yeah.
until like season 3. They tell you that story. and it's like, or season 4 even, I think, and it's like there's a lot of stuff like that. It's I mean they're not doing a bad job, they're doing an excellent job right now, and I just think either tell me stories that don't matter for the whole series, or don't tell me those stories at all. Give me just the meat and potatoes. If it makes every episode be 24 minutes instead of 28, that's fine. Because giving me 4 extra minutes of stuff that doesn't matter doesn't help the show remain like strong. Everyone's this is something we didn't talk about online, but we talked about it in, I think, the tier list. When you're looking at, sorry, when you're looking at the show just generally, okay, everyone's A plus, 10 out of 10, A plus, 10 out of 10. It's so good, it's so amazing. There is stuff there that takes away from that. Like, why is the development the base level way it is? Like, how come they give us things and then take those things away? And this is not even like a loose ends tie up thing. It's just there's this peppering in of things that don't seem relevant to what's happening. So I don't know if you want to touch on that, or anyone wants to talk about that, but it's like,
well, no, I kind of agree with that, because like it was starting to tell a story. The first 3 episodes were like its own isolated thing with the Friends of Humanity. Then you had that one-off Jubilee half an episode, and then there was the whole life death, like they told the mini life death story, and then they had the episode of Genosha, which I thought was the turning point of that.
Yeah.
And after that, we had 3 solid episodes, and I feel the last episode was kind of weak.
it was in comparison to the first 2 of the 3-parter.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, to expand on that even more, the way that the show is like laid out, episode to episode, you know, why? So the 10 out of 10s, back to that, just to continue, okay? Is everyone gets these specific episodes, and we're talking spoilers. So the Genosha episode, okay?
Yeah.
Gambit
I
dying.
thought that was one of the best episodes.
Gambit dying, then the switch from Rogue, and then the episode with Trask. People are like, "Oh, shock factor,
the human sentinel,
shock factor." So you're thinking in your head, "Wow, this show's so amazing," because they're blowing your minds with these like 3-minute segments. But
it's
then
that
when
little
you look
dopamine
at the rest
burst
of it,
that you get, yeah,
and you're like, "Oh, this is so amazing." But like when you segregate that 13 minutes and remove it out, the rest of the episodes are like, it's just a bunch of people standing around talking,
and that's what they did with the first episode.
Good.
Yeah, that's what they did with the first episode too. It hooks you in. They go to Master Mold. They see Trask. They have that.
And I'm not sitting here saying the show's bad. I know it seems like that, but I'm just logically looking at it for the reason why I didn't give it a perfect score, and I don't understand how people can. You're distracted by the quick flashes of things that blow your mind, and you're not looking at the whole show as a thing. If the whole show was that, okay. You know, it's like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is great. It's one of the best shows ever. But there's a lot of episodes where when you go back and watch it, like the Red Wedding, like the rest of the episode is just mid. But because all that shit happens right at the end, you're like, holy shit.
Which makes me think then what's going to end up happening is if I am correct about them paying off everything later, it's going to be hopefully okay, but it's going to be much better for people that aren't watching it from our pacing now, because you're going to have it right after. So
I think it's also catered. They're trying to cater to both generations of viewers, I guess. I think I'm the only Xer here, but you two are both millennials, and like I'm a little bit older, but we grew up on that. But we grew up on storytelling because you guys are both a little older millennials too, but we grew up on the storytelling and we grew up on the story, right? Whereas the Zeds and the Alpha generation, if they're watching this, are all about that quick dopamine burst, like I said, right? Like the attention span of the next generation is non-existent. So they need those quick dopamine bursts
to me, that's where the payoff comes in the form of like an anime, because that's how anime plays out. There's these quick, it's a long buildup of nothing. And then you get to the thing, and it's like bang, 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 and you're like, whoa! And
it's like Goku building up the Spirit Bomb for 4 episodes, and then he misses.
But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, what you're saying. I see it as there's just little parts that you focus on and you forget. It's selective
Yeah.
memory of and choosing what you want. I do think, like Putty said, they're going to pay off a lot of things, but to be honest with you, I don't need anything paid off.
No.
You had a season, it ended well. You introduced me into a new place. I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm not super familiar with the Onslaught storyline. I've read it, but it's not like something I have a connection with. I'm
Yeah.
also not super well versed in the Age of Apocalypse from this aspect of the storyline. I know what it's like in the other side of it in the future, but like
Mm.
from this
Yeah.
building up from the
They're leading
bottom,
into it. Yeah, they're
yeah.
leading into a
Yeah.
storyline. Yeah, because
So
the thing is,
it's fine with me. I'm okay
Yeah.
with it.
that's the reason why I liked, because I that was the bookends too, which makes me think of it. Because when I think of this, I think about with X-Men Alpha and X-Men Omega. Those are the bookends to Age of Apocalypse, and some of the storylines that are coming that I'm seeing.
Right. Yes, those are the two bookends. But for me, the X-Men Chronicles Volume 1 and 2, I enjoyed so much more because that told the whole backstory of everybody else in the Marvel Universe as to what happened in that Age of Apocalypse storyline.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I agree. But see that has potential too with all the characters that we see in this as
Right,
well.
but that's way too much. Like I honestly think that is way too much because you had the how many different factions? You had X Factor, you had X Force, you had the is it the Externals,
Well,
Gambit,
so Gavin Externals or the Astonishing X-Men or the Astonishing it's an A X-Men. I can't remember what.
Astonishing, yes.
Yeah, Astonishing X-Men. Getting the Externals. There was just a storyline
X
with Wolverine and Jean
Generation
Grey.
Next.
Yeah, Generation Next. What was the name of the story? I think it was called X Weapon or something like that for the one with Jean Grey and
Wolverine was
Wolverine.
Weapon X.
Yeah, but it was called like was it actually
No,
called
it was
Weapon X?
Weapon X.
Was it called Weapon? Okay, I can remember if it was called Weapon X
And
or
they
something
had
like that.
X-Men.
Yeah, X-Men. Yeah, because that was the individual story. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I agree because also that's a lot of story to fill in with a lot of characters that are not well known, and
Yeah,
that.
but
But
that
yeah,
you haven't even introduced any of them. We haven't seen Sabretooth at all this season.
yeah, but that's
Okay.
what I'm saying.
And Sabretooth is a major player in Age of Apocalypse.
I agree,
He's basically
100%.
the leader of the X-Men.
Yeah, because you also have what's his name, which I love it because the
Wild
thing with
Child.
Wild Child and then Blink are two characters that you only see in Age of Apocalypse. They don't exist in well that they did bring back Blink in one way, but anyway, the point is they were major staples in the Age of Apocalypse series, and
Right.
they're only part of that storyline.
And that's what I mean. To build up to that, it's going to take 6 seasons. Like five, six
But
seasons.
but as you said, now we're doing those spurts. What if they do the same thing with the next two seasons just to lead into that? Like maybe that's what they're doing is they realize how the world is now when it comes to watching stuff, and they do give us that. I think, yeah, it's probably not going to make for great.
I don't
You know?
think it like I honestly don't think it will do. I don't think it's too much. Onslaught was a shorter story and they could probably do that in one season.
Right.
But I think we're getting that different apocalypse storyline. I think it wasn't Age of Apocalypse. There was a second apocalypse storyline that came out after that. And I think that's, like I said, we said in Campbell's episode, I think that's the story that they're doing with Gambit as the Horseman of Death. Because
Oh,
that
you're
was
talking about the force. Okay, okay, that's what you're saying.
yeah.
Well,
And I
that no,
think we're
that
getting
became
because
before Age of Apocalypse.
we got Abin Sur, not we did get that apocalypse at the end, but we got Abin Sur. And that's a
Right.
completely different storyline.
Right, but what if they do that storyline and then it leads into it? Because in that
But
storyline,
how many
gives me.
seasons are you going to do with the show?
Well, you said there's a movie that could be the Age of Apocalypse would be perfect for just a movie itself. That's one self-contained story that I feel they can do in
Yeah,
a
but
movie.
then what? You got to deal with the aftermath and how
Well,
it resets the universe. So how are you going to do that?
I guess the end. I don't know. That's a good point. I guess
See, you can't onslaught. You can do onslaught as the movie, and I think that's where they're leading up to. But
Mm.
you cannot do Age of Apocalypse as a movie because
So
there has to be that aftermath payoff, an
I
epilogue.
guess so. But see, also at the same time, are we just trying to say the Age of Apocalypse is too big? Because I mean, I
It
never
is.
really thought.
That's easily two to 3 seasons.
Uh,
Easily.
I never thought of Age of Apocalypse being that big, but I guess that's what made me love it so much is because it did coordinate into a lot of stories I loved about when it came to X-Men comic books in general, just the books. Because there was already a lot of the stuff that you see when it comes to Magneto and Rogue are already happening in those prior issues, but not as a full scale, grandeur as what Age of Apocalypse does.
But
You know what I
that's the
mean?
thing, like they're so used to the apocalypse or the X-Men that we see, the X-Men 97. If you're a fan jumping on at X-Men 97 and didn't watch the original series, it may not make too much sense to you, but you could still jump on here and
Yeah.
watch it and understand.
Well,
You know
like I
what I mean?
said,
Age of Apocalypse, like one, it was already 30 years ago.
right.
And so there's not that many people that will remember it. And like you said, there's very few people that have that nostalgia for the Age of Apocalypse. A lot of people said like the Age of Apocalypse storyline wasn't very good.
I can't, but
No,
again,
and I'm not saying, but I mean, one, you have to start with Legion Quest, which
yeah,
that's like 5 episodes right there. Okay.
yeah.
Then one episode is the X-Men Alpha
Well,
episode. But how are you going to bring in Excalibur, Gambit and the Externals, Generation X, Astonishing X-Men, Amazing
well,
X-Men, Weapon X, Factor X, X-Men? They were all these like different lines, and these were like 8 issues long.
yeah, they were because I that was the major thing I collected. So that was the one that was like when it came out because was it 6 month run I think it was they
It
did that.
was it was almost a year.
Was it a year? Because I remember it was a
Yeah.
long time. And I remember I was so adamant about getting every single one because I remember I had to get the gold and silver of both Alpha and Omega. And then, of course, Prime was the one right after Omega. Um, uh, and then Prime even had that special cover, the see-through
Yes,
cover.
but see what I mean? Like that's what I'm talking about. How are you going to do all that?
Ah,
Like
I
you
guess it's,
can't.
yeah,
You're going to get if you do that in the cartoons, you're going to get a bastardized version like you got in the movie, and we all know how great that movie was.
yeah. Either
Like
way.
you can call it Age of Apocalypse and not do that Age of Apocalypse story like they did in the movie. Like that's that was a classic bait and switch what they did in the movie. They called it Age of Apocalypse and it had nothing to do with that storyline.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I hated it too. I hated it so much.
Go watch
Uh,
Campo's tier list on that to find out where we rank that film.
Hey,
like it's just it's I don't know. Again, I guess it's just something
And I
that
know how
I'm
much
not gonna.
it's. I know how much you want it, and don't get me wrong. Like that was one of my favorite X-Men storylines too. It was absolutely it was just because it told such a it was such a grandiose story. Like
Mhm.
how are you gonna how are you gonna involve Hulk? Hulk was a major part of Age of Apocalypse, and
Yeah,
and Marvel doesn't own the right to Hulk. Paramount does, so they can't include him
but that's all. There's always
without
been
did.
special
broken.
without special permission.
But
He
that's the thing
can't be
that
the star, but you can.
yeah. Well, they always broke. They did a lot of that stuff, but they broke the broke the
I think
storylines from
is it
other story.
Universal? Universal owns Hulk.
Universal,
Is
yeah, yeah.
Universal? Yeah, same
Yeah,
shit.
Universal.
But that's the thing that remember we longest time they had that broken up stuff and they found ways of doing it. I mean, again, I know I'm dreaming, but my I use Age of Apocalypse as the grandeur one. There's still a lot of storylines that we have to go through that we can actually adamant, but
I
they're gonna be
think
different.
like what was Bastion's group called? Because that was a storyline. I think that's the storyline they're keeping for season 2. Extinction. What was his group called? Something of
Oh,
because
I'm
that
not
was a
gonna
short
remember.
run.
I'm not gonna remember.
I
I just
don't remember
remember it
that
was
either.
EOT or something like that, XOT or something like that. Operation Extermination something.
I don't remember this one.
I don't remember, but
That
I
was
know
the
what you're
Bastion
talking about.
storyline, and that's where they took most of the elements from the last few episodes from. I think we're going to get a
Yeah,
Bastion return.
mm, maybe so.
I
I,
think
Operation
no.
Extermination.
You want to know what I think's gonna happen? I think you're gonna get Bastion back in the sense of like he's now in the computer. Like he's on the yeah,
He is the
he ex-
technovirus.
he exists in the internet, right? Remember, because that's what happens. That
Hmm.
like there's someone just in the that's in the computers, it's in all the technology and it's controlling everything.
hmm.
Yeah,
Well, okay, so then I mean at this point when we talk about all the things that have happened, because like
That's
I said,
Ghost in the Shell. That's
yeah,
literally go the
it
storyline for
goes to the
Ghost in the
shell.
Shell.
Yeah,
On
Go watch that.
like
That's a good movie.
prime example with Onslaught. I mean, do we see Bone Claws come in the same situation, or do we
Bone
see they
Claws is
just
there. It's already there. So
Yeah.
we're gonna
Right.
get Bone Claws. It's
They
non-negotiable.
just didn't want to show you now. They're saving that for season 2.
Okay. So then, okay, but then what else do you think we're going to have then outside of Onslaught and Bone Claws? What other storylines do you think, based on what we've seen,
Bone
that's
Claws is
gonna
not going to be a
happen?
storyline. He's just going to be Wolverine with Bone Claws. I don't know why you think there's
Yeah.
a storyline. I'm confused right now.
Well, no, I guess well, but there was a whole situation with Bone Claws but I guess they couldn't
Wolverine is
because
going to go on some kind of like discovering himself journey.
Yeah.
that's what well, that's
And
what
he's
I was
going to run
figuring.
into like Sabretooth or some dumb thing like that.
I think season 2 ends with him getting the adamantium back, like in the comics.
You think so? There's not going to be any moment without the.
Oh no,
Yeah,
we're
the
gonna
whole season.
the whole season is gonna be
Oh,
feral
I see what you're
Wolverine.
saying. Oh, okay,
And because
gotcha.
Apocalypse maybe has some way of brainwashing him. He's the god of war, his horseman of war, whereas Gambit is death.
Okay, that makes sense.
No,
yeah.
see, I think that you're going to be. I think you could be right about the Horseman thing, but I think the outlier
I
is going
agree
to
on
be
that all.
Wolverine is going to be the only one who can save them. If that's what it's going to come down to, and like Wolverine is going to have to figure out how to get there. They don't want Wolverine
Yeah.
to be a bad guy. You're either leaning on Cyclops or
Well,
you're
technically,
leaning on
he's not a
Wolverine.
bad guy. He's in a feral state, so he doesn't really know what he's doing, right?
I guess that's true. That could work.
Yeah.
But I mean,
mean-
I don't. And Angel is the catalyst. Archangel is the catalyst that defeats them instead of him being part of the Horsemen because he's been there before.
Mm.
Yeah.
I like
makes
that.
sense.
And then Psylocke, because we saw Psylocke.
Yeah, we saw and Puck.
That's
Yeah,
Puck.
Puck. Yeah.
That's Putty's favorite
So-
guy.
Puck, yeah, he kind of looks like him. Skies out, thighs out with Puck there, eh?
Ooh.
Heck, what was it? I can't remember what else we were talking about. Anyway, that's sidetracked because I can remember there was another thing recently. I think that had Puck in it that we're talking about, and I can't remember what it was.
Could Wolverine go back to the East because we did see Silver Samurai and Omega Red?
Maybe we get the Wolverine storyline now.
Yeah,
That would make sense.
And
That would be the
Wolverine
storyline
doesn't
too.
come back till the 3rd season.
on a voyage of rediscovering
so
himself.
now
Yeah.
you have a breakup of 2 storylines or 3 even. You have the people who got left
Yeah.
behind, Wolverine
Mhm.
on his journey, and then the people.
Well,
in the
and
2
you also
worlds.
have the storyline in the future with Scott
Yeah.
and Jean with Nathan as a kid. They finally that pays off now because remember Bishop
Oh.
and Nathan got separated in that portal, and that didn't pay off until the end of the last episode
So-
where they.
Okay, so hold on. I need an explanation here because I never read this storyline deeply enough. Cable's from the future, Bishop's from the future, but Bishop's from the Age of Apocalypse timeline.
Yes,
Where is
Mhm.
Cable from? This far in the future?
yes, because they got separated.
So Cable's even more in the future than.
Yes,
Mhm.
And how did he get back to where he was?
vortex manipulator.
So because the Cable we know is this Cable, but this is them meeting him before he takes his journey to come back.
Exactly. So maybe Jean and Cyclops are the catalyst to get Cable back.
So
And
are we
stop
going to
the
go
ge-
full Terminator
Yes.
and go back before we went back to get Cable to stop the whole thing from happening?
From
Period.
Genosha. Maybe that could be it.
So, do you think we're also going to have possibility? Because I mean, again, that's sidetracking. Do you think we're going to lead into an ending where maybe he opens up X Force, or just leaves it there?
I mean,
No
it
X-Force.
could be. I
don't think we'll get
I
X-Force.
think there could be X Force, but I don't think it will be a Cable X Force. I think if they do X Force,
I think you already have X Force right now.
It's going to be Rick Remender X Force if they do it with like Nightcrawler and.
No, you
I
have
know.
it right now. You have Bishop and you have Forge and you have Nightcrawler
Mm,
Oh, that's true.
that is
still
true.
in the present day. And
Um,
Cable's there too.
Maybe they call them, so they name themselves that because of that. They're like, we're now the X Force, mate. But yeah,
Because you have them all there, right?
that makes sense.
They're the ones
actually.
that stayed in the present.
But maybe this establishes it for the later on.
Which that would be cool. That would be really cool.
Because this way, then they can keep the animated series universe going, but in somewhere else, so that we don't tarnish the actual main timeline. It goes
Yeah.
and does its
Mhm.
own thing.
As an alternate timeline. Multiverse.
Also,
Yeah,
hashtag
right?
bring back Childish Gambino's version of Deadpool.
And see. Here's the thing. That's the other thing. Yeah, but by the way, yes, I do want that. The other thing is too, just like you said yourself with Deadpool. Yeah, you say that they don't bring him into X-Men '97. That's probably because they're going to do it. If they do it, that would be X Force.
Doo-doo.
do because then they can set it up to bring him in as a normal character actually because people would be shocked if they came in and they did the 98 where he goes to kill Cable and that's where they're like, dude, this isn't the Deadpool I'm used to. It's like, yeah, well, you gotta understand he doesn't get there until later on when they go through some of the
Unless
psychosis.
they're going to do Ages of Apocalypse and not Age of Apocalypse.
That's possible.
Because Ages of Apocalypse is where En Sabanur is trapped inside Scott Summers' body, and he's trying to get possession of Nate Gray.
Ooh, because that's already a plot line. Because remember, they're in the world with Nathan, with him as a kid
Yeah.
now, with their daughter too, and
And
that. But
and remember, En Sabanur was never in Age of Apocalypse, but he was in the Ages of Apocalypse storyline from like the early 2000s.
It's possible, and that would be good because it's a storyline we haven't touched on yet.
But it's not only that; it's very clearly that's where he's getting his what's his Bo Devereaux or whatever his name
Bo Jackson.
is. Exactly. This is clearly it's the early 2000s run of X-Men where he's getting all his inspirations from.
Well,
And
hopefully someone can get inspiration from Rick Remender's X-Force because that's all I want.
Yeah, let's do that.
either way, again, the greatness about this, and why I'm glad we actually did this is this opens up a lot of windows of possibility. Because the thing is, here's this is what I believe too, not just as a fan, but because Kevin Feige has been like, okay, we have all these Marvel characters that we've screwed up on, that we haven't done right, but we know there is because the weird thing is, and it's very true when it comes to Marvel, for a lot of people that don't understand the comic books, even though X-Men and what I call the other side of the Marvel universe, where there's the floor level Marvel universe, which I always called Marvel Knights, which is Daredevil, Blade, all that kind of stuff. You have your Avengers side, and then you have your mutant side. Like I feel like that's the three pinnacles.
Four.
What
You're
would you say
forgetting the
fourth one?
Fantastic Four. That's a completely different
Oh
thing
yeah,
too.
that's space. That would be more the space stuff then. So you have your space, your ground level, your Avengers, Earth thing, and then you have mutants. You know what I mean? And the mutants are what people first got introduced into Marvel if they never read the comic books or watched the cartoons. Well, even the
No,
cartoons.
not me.
Well, no, I'm not saying from us. I'm just saying in
Not
general
me.
audience. I'm saying
Listen,
for
you're old.
we're talking about
Yeah, I
general
get it,
audience.
but I was introduced to Marvel by like before X-Men, I was reading Spider-Man comics.
Yes, but here's the thing: Marvel sucks. That's all.
I mean, we
Batman's
already
the
know.
best. Like, let's establish that.
We already know that Spider-Man is like the pinnacle of like Marvel anyway. He's the child for it. It's like
By the way,
Batman is
can
for
we talk
DC.
about something?
Yeah.
I finally got Grant Morrison's Batman and Robin Volume 1 randomly at BMV. I just happened to be there and I walked over to the section. And I'm like, no one ever
Which
has
one?
it. 'Cause
From the
it's
New
impossible to
52 number
find.
one?
No, right before New 52, like the Black Mirror days when it's
Yeah.
it's Dick Grayson.
Dick
So
Grayson,
I
yeah.
have the hardcover for 2, 3, 4, but I never have been able to find one, and I found it, and I'm so happy. It was $10. Anyway, suck it,
It's a good
everyone.
price.
Yeah.
Hey,
Also, cool new comic just came out: Ninja Turtles versus Street Fighter, and the trade paperback is out, and I'm gonna buy it next time when I go there.
And Last Ronin 2.
I got
Oh yeah, Last
sidetracked.
Ronin 2, yeah. We're
I
sidetracked.
want
We're
that.
talking about comic
Yeah.
stuff.
Well,
It's
yeah.
technically
Well,
still comics.
I was about to get upset. I told Kevin Feige sorry in case he's ever
And I'm
watching.
looking forward to the Last Ronin game. That
But
looks
what
I
was that?
interesting.
I
Ninja
think
Turtles
there's
versus
room
what?
here. There's wiggle room. You've introduced these characters for you to punish us in a different way now with Marvel and just start chucking out animated series shows that tie into this.
Well, it's a different studio now.
Yeah,
It's a different studio.
have a Daredevil run. You introduced him. Have a Daredevil run where it's the Mark Waid storyline where everyone knows he's Matt Murdock and he moves to San Francisco and he's Devil in the Bay or whatever it's called and do that. Have Cloak and Dagger have one season that just ties something together, Bring back Spider-Man 97. Just do all of that. Throw it at me. And if they suck, I don't care. Just let me enjoy that nostalgia. And then do a good job making your movies and let that universe be back to like where it should be.
Well, this summer will be the catalyst. It depends on whether.
Did you hear what they're saying about this
what?
summer? Summer
Yes.
of George. All right.
Summary George.
Anyways,
I
sorry,
got-
kick on finish your
Like-
saying.
Just call me Uncle Leo.
It got sidetracked. That's okay. It's still comic books and everything.
Yeah. Still comic book related.
Well, either way, guys, there's a lot to be excited when it comes to mutants and everything. So I know I'm excited. Anything else you guys want to say about it as far as like upcoming things, what you liked about it, or something, even if you something you didn't like? I mean, my thing is I enjoyed it. I understand the plot holes and everything. I hope that some of the plot holes that I saw get filled in later on. I know some of them for sure will be. But I mean, let's use X-Men 97 as an example right now. Based on that and the other animations they've done in the past, do you at least feel that Kevin Feige is on the right path when it comes to understanding
Absolutely.
these characters?
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
think he has to. I think what Kevin Feige needs to do is find
It's-
the people that are good for the job, make sure that you know
Yeah.
they can do it, and then let them do what they do and get out of the way.
And keep your fingers out of the pie.
Yeah, he got two hands in the pie, and it got out of control. That's why we're in the state that we're in, because Kevin Feige's touching too many things.
So then that makes me question this. Do you feel with what we're coming up with now with a Deadpool and Wolverine, do you think that his hand might be too much in this
No.
pie? Or
Have
do
you
think,
watched the Deadpool trailer?
well, of course I have. You know I
Kevin
have.
Feige did not have anything to do with this movie. He said, "These are your rules. This is where we want the story
Yeah.
to go. Give us the story." You could tell by the trailer. They make jokes
So-
about it, like talking about the
Yeah.
Coke and shit. It's literally like
Okay,
Kevin
so
Feige was not there. That's how it feels.
So do you think then? Because here's my question then. Because if it's if that's true, because then Kevin Feige's basically like saying we need to have this and this in here to set up Secret Wars or something like that. You know what I mean? So he's like, okay, so now go do it and everything. Do you think that there was already a clue what he said? He was like maybe like saying, okay, oh, we went with Fox, we want Marvel, we want that. You can go play with the Marvel stuff right now. Don't play with the Fox stuff. Go play with the Marvel stuff. Do what you want, as long as we can. It won't retcon anything else. It just be alternate universe.
I think
like
he
that.
has to retcon Fox. That's the whole purpose of
no.
this.
No, he's retconning Fox. But what I'm saying is he's not. I'm saying this is already saying, hey, we're killing the Fox universe. That Ryan Reynolds knows the book on that. That's what's happening. But also out of that, he's telling let him go because he's also got to continue the storyline. So do you think maybe he's saying, hey, we're leaving the Secret Wars. We already screwed up as it is. We're not changing any plot lines before Endgame. You could go play with those. They won't change any storyline as long as they're in an alternate universe situation. But we have to leave. But we have to leave.
I don't know. I don't know. Like
That's too intricate of a question to have a real answer for that.
I guess that's what I'm saying, because the thing
Yeah.
is, based on watching X-Men 97, he knows he's the people that are making this know the comics.
Yeah,
We
but
know
you
Kevin
can't
Feige-
really do anything now unless it's what you can't, even with the success. Now that the success of X-Men 97, you're not touching Thunderbolts now. You're not touching
Yeah,
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because they've already done a second reshoot of the entire film almost.
right.
So those
So-
are already, like, you can't really do much more unless, if you do more, they're gonna get delayed even more, and we may go the entire 2026 without a Marvel movie, and he
So-
does not want that.
Okay, so do you think basically he told him then that there's a certain point we have to hit in your movie to where, because if this is going to be the one that changes the MCU, as they say, it still has to keep these stories that are coming into the pipeline, also introducing the Marvel Universe to the Fox characters that they want to bring in, at least for the Secret War storyline. So with that being said,
I wouldn't call them Fox characters, because you're getting a lot of recasts.
well, no, I get that too, but I'm saying the characters that they couldn't play with before that were only in the Fox universe. You get what I'm saying now?
X-Men
Like-
characters, basically.
Yeah, well, X-Men and Fantastic Four is another one too, because we already know they're leading into a Fantastic Four movie that's gonna be set in literally another universe. You know what I mean? So with that being said, that I'm my thing is this: I trust what Ryan Reynolds and was it John Levy are doing with
Mhm.
Deadpool and Wolverine. I trust that they understand and love these characters as well as anything else Marvel related. That it gives me hopes in what that Kevin Feige understands that, because he's like, hey, I had that same love. I lost my way. I'm now letting you guys do it. And
Kevin
you think-
Feige will never admit he's wrong. He's going to let Ryan Reynolds do a Deadpool 3. He's going to let him have a spot in Secret Wars, and Ryan Reynolds is gone.
Okay.
Because
'Cause
he
if it-
wants to control it.
Well, no, I get that, but my situation is they're making a big deal, like with interviews they've done at Empire, where both of them have said like they can't say nothing because of the whole being a Secret Wars thing, or
Right.
how big of a plot device they are as the whole multiverse goes into play. It's
Um,
like,
yeah. So there's a bunch of things you're saying. Did you guys see the new Green Lantern suit?
no,
The
I have
one from the
not.
fan made film?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got
And how do you
sidetracked on
feel?
the. You know what? I feel like we've gotten done with the X-Men mutants topic. I feel like we might have to do another RLG cast. Well, it's been a long time since we did a typical RLG cast talking about comic books or anything like that, which might be a good
X-Men,
idea.
Days of Ruptured Ass.
Yeah, Days of
Wow.
Ruptured Ass. Wow, that's a good way to end it. But guys, we are also going to be doing some other stuff for X-Men 97 on the channel, so make sure you guys check that out, or X-Men in general. We're going to be doing a lot of X-Men stuff. Deadpool's coming in, Wolverine's coming in. It's going to
Batman's
happen.
coming in.
Batman's coming in. I'm Batman. Well, kind of. I mean, if you think about it, because if we do get Ben Affleck, I don't know if we're going to.
Amalgam
Anyway,
Comics, we're going to get Dark Claw.
that would be amazing. That's a storyline I want to happen.
Micro
Probably not
Tiger.
going to.
Macro Tiger.
All right, guys. But with that being said, I think we're gonna
Meow.
end there. This was a great episode. X-Men 97 is amazing. If you want to know what my score was, you'd be surprised. Probably not. Go over and check
No.
out Capo's
No, you won't.
Capo's video. Might be actually more surprised on some of their reactions though, but I'm gonna let that be for the video, guys. Go watch it. Then check out JD's channel. JD's doing. We're not. Are we doing anything on your end this week? I know. Oh, we do have what's its name? King and Queen of the Ring coming up.
That's coming up in a couple weeks, and Double or
yeah.
Nothing as well. So that's in 2 weeks' time.
Okay, so there you go.
So
if I don't
the
have
reviews will be out for those shortly. And the problem is Tiffany Stratton's been eliminated, and so has Ilya Dragunov.
Well, Gunther's gonna win anyways.
No, he's not. It's going to be Jey Uso versus Tamatonga
That's stupid. That's really stupid.
because they want to keep this bloodline storyline going.
That's crazy. That's
Just end
crazy.
this video.
Yeah, like just anyways, as always, I'm Putty of the G-Pop crew, and you know we do videos of X-Men and mutants too. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.
Beef stew.
Bafangul.
We're leaving that too.